No worries. No worries at all, Matt. I'm stranded in Baton Rouge right now. In fact, I'm doing added snow coverage this afternoon. In fact, I'm going on the air in like 30 seconds. Um, yeah, no, I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow. How about I text you tomorrow so you can call me at your convenience because you got more going on than I do. I'm just stuck in a building like The Shining. So yeah, cool. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a million. You too. It is 4:06 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. You're getting bonus snow day coverage here on Talk. Brian Haldane here with you. Going to be with you for the next 2 hours. Now that the precipitation part of the snowstorm is over with, we get ready for the hard part, and that is the freeze. We will be with you for the next 2 hours on the air. And we'll be bringing you a number of guests along the way. In fact, about 2.5 minutes from now, WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Each, is going to join us to talk about what we see fall and how long it's going to take before it melts. Also on the show, we will talk with I will talk with our own Kevin Ford. He's our resident hurricane guy. We go to him in a hurricane. I don't when we have emergency coverage, we lean on him a good bit. So we'll get his recap of the well, we didn't have a blizzard here, but we were under a blizzard warning for Southwest Louisiana. So we'll check in with Kevin Ford coming up about 4:30. In the 5 o'clock hour, Mayor President Sid Edwards slated to join us at 5:05, and he will be followed by Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport at 5:15. Plus, we're not done stacking up the roster just yet. We're going to talk to a number of folks as we make our way through the afternoon. We'll also hear from Governor Jeff Landry. He held a press conference about an hour ago. Included in that press conference was John Donahue from DOTD and Louisiana's State Police Lieutenant Hodges. Give me one quick second here. My apologies. I'm off and running before actually getting underway. So we'll hear from both of them as well as the show wears on. Let's start with the basics right here. Colonel Robert Hodges, bricked on his first name. Let's start with the basics here. How'd you do? What'd you see? We had a number of folks message us pictures of really, really simple ask here. Put a ruler in the snow and send it to us. And the average was about 4 inches around Baton Rouge. We had Keith up at Central, took on well over 5. Here at the station, here at 929 Government Street in downtown Baton Rouge, in the parking lot in front of the building, It was 3 inches. But Spain Street right behind us was just over 4. And Dr. Josh Each just told us this morning that was kind of the way it was going to be, was that you were going to see varied amounts throughout the city. This isn't like rainfall where you get one flat measurement or a number of flat measurements. It can get a lot more varied based off of just how much stacks up, how much is stuck in a tree versus how much hits the ground, and the works. So, would you see Baton Rouge? What were your experiences on the front half? The other part of this is the hard part, and that is what's to come. This feels like the hard part right now because everybody had to stay home. Nobody's allowed out on the roads. But where we're at right now, we're still not allowed out on the roads, and we won't be allowed out on the roads for some time. There are nonetheless people out there who are driving around. Some of them are out there to help. Some of them are out there just to be tourists. But the roads are going to get worse, actually, before they get better. What we're seeing right now with the snow is as you drive over it, a little bit of it melts and crumples up. Only problem is it refreezes. Now you have ice on the roads, which is going to make things worse. With the ice on the roads, it's got to dry out, it's got to melt. Those two things have to happen. And the melting doesn't happen until the temperature gets above 32, which did not happen today and certainly will not happen tonight. And the drying out just takes time as well. So in the governor's press conference, well, you know what? Full disclosure, y'all, we're doing something a little bit differently here. In order to move me back to the host side of the table, we're working on producing this remotely. So our own Cade Wazan is producing, who says he got 6 to 7 inches over at his house worth of snow. Cade, if you could please cue up Landry 2. Wanted to talk about what it's going to be like on the roads for the next couple days, if you would. Jeff Landry from his press conference about an hour ago.
Initial reports have indicated, like I said earlier, that most of you are staying off the road. And again, I would just please urge you to stay off the road. That gives our crews the opportunity to clear the snow and the ice to allow those roads to start to dry. And and after Jay, we'll bring Joe Donahue in with DOTD, and he'll start to talk about how they're going to start to clear those roads from west to east.
So what he also talked about there was the formation of black ice and how the black ice makes it worse. And when you get into Colonel Robert Hodges, when you get into Joe Donahue's portion of the press conference, which we'll hear back later on as well, he talks about what it takes to clear it. When we had Rodney Mallett on from DOTD earlier today, he talked about the salting of the roads, and that was an important part of the whole equation. But there's another part with the salting. When you put the salt on the roads, it lowers the freezing temperature of the water, right? So if you get any meltage at all, it'll keep it melted to help, hopefully, help it drain. The flip side of that, though, is there is only a limited amount to which the salt can have effect. It will still it'll freeze at a certain point with or without salt. The temperatures we're expecting to see tonight are such that it will do that. So we're waiting on WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, here to hop on. I was waiting before we took our first break, but you know what? Let's go ahead and take that break right now so that when we get Josh on, we could just run with him here and rather than jam him up in a shorter segment. So this is continuing coverage of the snowstorm of 2025, winter weather event of 2025. You're listening to Talk 107.3 FM. We'll continue next. Hotline. Hey, Josh. We went to a break, so give me about a minute and a half. And we're coming back. Okay. All right. What's your drop dead time? Okay, cool. Hang tight. Awful. Currently 27 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. You are listening to continuing coverage of the winter storm of 2025. Hopefully it's the winter storm of 2025 and not a winter storm of 2025. Joining us now from our news partners at WBRZ, their chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eaches. Well, Josh, I hate to say you nailed it for how things would play out today, but you kind of did.
Well, I like when a forecast comes together. I don't like when the impacts are as we've expected. Again, we've been doing the 50-50 split today of presenting the fun that this has created for a lot of people in the Baton Rouge area, but also discussing the hazards that we've had today and will certainly follow and continue tonight and into tomorrow.
All right, so you put it on T like that, and the governor actually mentioned that in his press conference a little over an hour ago, and his basic take was the fun part's over because now we can turn towards freezing.
Yeah, that really is true. Once the sun sets tonight, there's not really any more playing in the snow. We're all getting inside, hopefully, to get warm for the night. And I'll put that reminder out there. If you know somebody that's not fortunate enough to have access to heat, let's be really kind and check on them tonight. Because actually, I just ran some numbers with my colleague, meteorologist Malcolm Byron, and tonight's temperature has the potential to be the coldest we've seen since 1989. We haven't seen a temperature of 13 degrees or lower since December of 1989, and we've adjusted our forecast low temperature tonight down to 10 degrees.
Oh, my.
The last time we saw as low as 14 was back in 2018, but 13 or lower hasn't happened since the late 80s, and that's what we're expecting tonight. So there's that danger, and of course, compounding that is this cold is certainly going to make any slush, moisture, snow that's on the roads turn into a crusty, icy, slippery mess overnight into tomorrow morning.
So part of that is the fact that the number of people who have already driven on it. It's not that powder anymore. That which has been driven on has been crushed down and is going to be ice. It won't be snow anymore. It's more of it's got that density to it. Does it do more harm than good every time somebody drives on it short term?
That's a catch-22 because, in the morning hours, the driving on it was keeping the friction on the road was warming it up and keeping it flushed and from freezing. But once we started to get those high accumulation rates later this morning and this afternoon, and it started accumulating on the roads and then, packing it down, we're setting up these tire treads that are basically streamers of ice on the road. And that's what we'll have to deal with for tonight. So I'd say, it's one way or the other. What will help is when we come above freezing with some sun tomorrow, any traction on it will start to kind of break some of that down. And then we need the wind and the sun to help evaporate it. But it's going to be a slow process. And I don't think we'll be able to complete that tomorrow afternoon, given that we've also lowered tomorrow's high to 35. That means we'll only spend a couple of hours stay between noon and 4 above freezing. And I just don't think that's going to be enough time, even with a full day of sunshine, to melt everything. So we're probably looking at maybe not total chaos on Thursday morning, but chaos 2.0 versus Wednesday morning on Thursday still.
Yeah, I mean, at least Wednesday will still be pretty much everyone on lockdown, and that will just keep people off the roads. But by Thursday, I mean, you'd be hard pressed for anybody to ask anyone to stay home again. Although I'm sure a number of folks will, but the want to stay home will eventually completely go away. That being said, though, let's getting back into the forecast for tonight and to tomorrow. How high above 32 does the temperature need to be to start seeing any actual melting?
You know, it's not necessarily how high, it's the duration. We really need to spend, for the amount of snow we've received, you know, if this had just been a dusting or a coating, an hour or two tomorrow could likely do it. Right. But keep in mind that it's not just what's on the road. So everything on the grass is likely going to drain onto the roads as it melts and runs off. So we have to get rid of really all of this moisture, and that's a lot of snow to melt and move across our roadways and whatnot before we can completely get rid of it. I think it's going to take until Thursday to do that, when we spend several hours above freezing, have a little bit of filtered sunshine, get into the 40s, and we'll make a lot more progress toward it. So, like you said, people are going to want to get out and about even as early as tomorrow. But if I were a betting person, I am not. I would be hard-pressed to believe those interstates are opening before sometime around midday on Thursday.
Wow. Okay. I'd say that is a tough play to be sure, but I mean, this is the hand we're dealt. This is what we've been dealt with. Reports of depth. You said this morning it would vary from place to place. In fact, right here at Garrity Media, it varied by an inch from in front of the building to behind the building. So what kind of reports have we gotten? What's the most you've seen? What's the least you've seen?
So some of our reports get, obviously we get fewer reports, and we have filtered reports with the National Weather Service that have a little bit more of a quality check to them to make sure they were measured properly and whatnot. I've seen an 8.1 in Geismar.
Wow.
That's not bad. That's about a max we would think out of this one. I believe our official forecast was 3 to 7 with an isolated higher amount. Saw a lot of 7s. I think Prairieville, Donaldsonville had a 7, had a few 7s around East Baton Rouge Parish. We don't have the official airport measurement yet. That will come in the 5 o'clock hour. And most people seem to have gone over about 5. So we were at the upper end of that 3 to 7 forecast range, which, by the way, as long as the airport goes over 3.5 inches, and based on the numbers that we're seeing come in, I think they will, that would make this the biggest snowstorm in the modern era, likely in our lifetimes in the capital area. The last time we saw 3.5 was 2017, and before that, you had to go to 6 inches back in 1914. And I tell you, I think that one could potentially go down. We might take out 1914 with this event, making it the second highest snow total in capital area history.
What starts modern history? Because I want to say I saw something that said back in like 1895, we saw a lot.
Right. 1895 is the record holder. We had a foot in 1895, and that was like a 2 or 3 day event. So modern history, generally, when we say that in weather, we're talking about the satellite era of tracking weather, and that was in the 1950s. And just kind of less generally speaking, colloquially speaking, modern history, our lifetime. I don't know many that were alive in 1914. So at least in this generation, this lifetime, this will likely to be the biggest snowstorm that any of us have seen.
I want to squeeze in one more before I get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate you freeing up so much time. I know you got to hop back on TV real soon. The evaporation aspect of this. You talked about the wind possibly drying things out as well. How big of a role will that play?
The wind would and can play a huge role in it. The unfortunate thing is, I remember from our 2017 event, some of our past ice events, usually these come on the tail end of fronts, and typically right after fronts, it's super windy. Our front came by 2 days ago, and this was a storm system in the Gulf. So the wind just today is actually starting to die back. Okay. So the wind, while tonight it'll help make it bitterly cold, even with a 5-mile-per-hour breeze, we're expecting to virtually go calm by daybreak and into tomorrow. I wish the wind would help us more than it would tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to play as big of a role as it has in evaporating some of the ice and snow in previous events.
He is WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eaches. Man, I know you got to hop back on the air on the TV side. Thank you so much for carving out a couple minutes for us.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Brian. Thanks for everything today.
You as well, sir. Keep at it. He is WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eaches. Okay. We're gonna check in with Kevin Ford when we come back from our break. We're not up to that break yet, though. How about it, Baton Rouge? Official measurements aren't in yet, but it's looking like we took on a record amount of snow for the modern era. We got to experience history today. So, as frustrating as it may be, if you're not on the fun side, if your kids are back at the house, as as you know what's to come with the overnight freeze and the dangerously low freeze. Even with all that, we did experience a record-breaking amount of snow. So we get to say we're a part of that now. Getting back to what Dr. Josh was saying, though, the amount of time that we're going to be above freezing tomorrow is going to be a little bit less, especially now that they've adjusted their overnight low down to 10 versus where it was before. That being said, I want to say it was only at 12 before. I don't know how much of a difference that 2 degrees makes. But what we do know makes a difference is when it gets above freezing tomorrow. So what we're looking at right now is what we were looking at this morning was getting back above freezing sometime between 10 and 11, and then getting back below freezing after the sun went down. What we're looking at now is pushing that back by an hour. You lose an hour worth of melting now as a result of that, as we won't be back above freezing until by close to noon. That being said, we'll have from noon until sundown to get anything done as far as melting is concerned. So hear me out. What if everybody just plugs a hairdryer into an extension cord, just goes outside and melts their street? Can we do that? No, I know that's not going to work. I'm just kidding. We've got a lot of ground to cover here. We have got to talk power. We have got to talk about some of the surrounding areas, and we're going to talk about individual impacts. But I am looking at the clock right now. We're a minute or so ahead. So let's go ahead and take a break right now. We will have your traffic for you lead off that break, and we will continue next. You're listening to continuing coverage of the winter weather of 2025 here on Talk 107.3 FM. Hotline. Hey. All right, we're in break right now. It's going to be about 2 minutes. We're coming back. So officially, it's not in. The airport hasn't reported. So, but we've got the record for the modern era. We're going to be up above. We're going to get reports above 6. So, yeah, this will be. Yeah, but like so that goes away after the way the governor put it in his press conference was this has been a magical winter wonderland and now the fun's over with. So yeah, it's gonna, as it sits there overnight, it's gonna pack itself like a snowball. So all right, hang tight, coming your way in about a minute. Thanks. All right. This is continuing coverage of our snow event to start off 2025. We haven't named it yet. All these events get a name, don't they? We had the Snowpocalypse a few years ago. We haven't put a clever name on this one yet. And the thing of it is, it's record breaking with the amount of snow that we've gotten. Joining us now, we lean on him for emergency coverage all the time. Normally, it's a hurricane which comes up through the Gulf, which is where he makes his living. But you know what? When we've got the snow rambling through from west to east, we call on him anyway. He is Kevin Ford, host of Let's Go Fishing. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. It's it's amazing. I live right off of I-12 in Millerville, so I hear the interstate all the time. And I'm standing outside right now, Brian, doing this, and I don't know if there's any other. It's beautiful, but surreal.
Yeah. Because
normally you hear the noise, and it just sounds like I am in the middle of the woods, and you never get the sound here. So it's just, I'm just kind of in awe standing outside right now of how quiet it is and how beautiful it is right now. And, I think a lot of people are enjoying that right now, the beauty of it, and, record snowfall and kids making big snowmen for the first time. A lot of people enjoying this. It's going to turn into a big mess for us.
Yes.
But right now, people just need to take the time and enjoy something that, a lot of us old timers, especially me, we may never see something like this in this area again in our lifetime.
No, 100%. It's not since, I believe Josh said, Dr. Isha said 1914 is the record we're going to break with this year's amount. More than likely, it hasn't been official yet. And yeah, you mentioned how serene and peaceful it is. Like, I'm in the Guarantee building by myself right now. So there's this one side of serenity. But Kevin, I'm by myself in a haunted building. So I'm just this side of Jack Torrance. So by this time tomorrow, it might be all work and no play. Makes Brian a dull boy, just written 1,000 times on a piece of paper.
I do have to tell you, we do have an official name for this storm.
Oh, we do? Okay.
It is Winter Storm Enzo, E-N-Z-O.
Like the baker's son from The Godfather?
Yeah, Enzo, E-N-Z-O.
I am Enzo.
I'm not making that up.
For your father. Okay.
Yeah.
Winter Storm Enzo. See, okay, what qualifies a winter storm? We know all the qualifications for a hurricane. We know how to get the names during the tropical time. How did we get to Enzo?
I think it's just it's got to be snowing a lot.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have to do some big time investigation on it. But last year when we had the ice event,
yes,
that one was named too, because we were making fun of that one when we were on the air. So
I do remember that. I do remember that, and that was nothing compared to this one.
No, it was absolutely nothing. And the thing that's like mind blowing to me is how far south a lot of this has gone. People in Belchase, which is a little bit south of New Orleans, basically have the same amount of snow that we have.
Yeah.
The Mississippi Gulf Coast gets its first measurable snowfall since 1963. We talked earlier about the winter storm warning. The blizzard warning that they had briefly in Southwest Louisiana for the first time ever. Just so many records with this. And I think the biggest difference, like for me, in seeing this winter event and then compared to the one we had in, I think it was 2018, maybe?
17.
17. Yeah. And, that one, it was just like these huge flakes, and it was moist because there was a lot of moisture in the air before that. There was very little moisture in the air before this hit, which means the snow is just really, really soft. And, you can, last time you had to chisel it off your vehicle. Mm-hmm. Right now, it just comes off like a light powder. So it's certainly a unique event, but, obviously people just need to, I think the big thing that people need to realize is that life does not get back to normal tomorrow whatsoever. This is going to become dangerous overnight. I know you've talked about it, ice and everything. So people are definitely going to want to stay off the roads. And then, the other thing, it's kind of funny. Every now and then you see an 18-wheeler on I-12.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 of them. Where the hell are they going? Are coming from?
So, yeah, good question, because they had to get on. Well, they probably got on at Airline because it was closed before Airline.
No. These are going westbound, and I'm at Millerville.
Okay, then they were getting off at Airline because that's where it was going to shut down again. And, Kevin, I got to be honest with you. I am shocked, I tell you, that the Amite River Bridge didn't close down.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of closures tonight.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of that. And I know you're not able to do it right now, but if you go out to the street right now, some of this powder is turning into liquid as we speak, a little bit of it, because, we've been hovering around freezing. People have been moving around. Well, that is going to quickly freeze.
Yeah.
So your road problems are going to actually get worse and not get better, even though the precip is stopped. So I think that's going to be the thing that people need to be careful of, is that the problems with your pipes, you need to run, look, everybody says wrap the pipes. People say don't run water. I'm running water because you're going to have a serious problem with pipes. And, this is going to have some, long-term effects. For me,
Yeah.
This is going to probably cause the news after this, we talk about these things and, hopefully nobody gets hurt, gets in a wreck. But this is going to cause a pretty significant fish kill down on the coast when we get cold like this. So, it is beautiful, but it is going to cause some problems. And, I haven't looked at the latest power outages, but I think it could have been a lot worse if we would have had some ice before this, which we didn't have. And the tree limbs would be in awful shape. As I look at the big trees, there's no snow in them. So we were very fortunate, I think, Brian, not to have that sleet and freezing rain before the snow event started.
Well, how many times do we get hit in the wintertime where it's a 1-2 punch? And it's not snow that's heavy like this, but the trees, like the limbs, get waterlogged. And then on the second time around, the wind or whatever precipitation adds to it is the one that knocks them out. Not having a 1-2 punch like that, I think, thus far, you don't talk to the pitcher in the middle of a no-hitter, but, so far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. I mean, I think that's why we have not seen the power, the massive power outages that we saw, when we have like that freezing rain event last year. We had way more power issues than we had with this, and it really wasn't that big of a deal last year when we had it. So I think we got very fortunate. I can remember the last time that we had snow. You said it was in 17. I looked back at some of the same pictures that I took, and all of the trees were just, and they were all white. Everything was white. And so we got very, very fortunate that we didn't have rain, sleet, freezing rain, and then topping that with 5 to 6 inches of snow. So yeah, it was very fortunate. But now the bitter cold for tonight and tomorrow it turns into the story, and people need to be very careful with that. And of course, tomorrow, staying off the roads, because just because you see it get above freezing at maybe 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, that's not going to eliminate our problem. I think this is going to be an issue through tomorrow evening, and then I think in some cases we'll have some issues going into Thursday morning before things turn to normal. And it's 70 degrees over the weekend.
Right. That's the stupid part of the whole thing, is that it will be. And I can't get myself past that. We're talking with Kevin Ford, who we lean on regularly for emergency coverage. Normally it's a hurricane, but today we're talking snow. Okay, Kevin, did this get bad enough, or do you think this has gotten bad enough in the Gulf to where or we're going to see a fish kill?
Well, fish kill, basically what happens is when you get water temperatures that get down into, and it's not going to be in the Gulf. It's usually on coastal areas.
Okay.
1989 was the worst one that we've had on record. But when like a speckled trout it's our number one inshore game fish, and it is very sensitive to cold. So when those water temperatures start getting into the upper 30s, and those fish don't have a lot of access to deeper water, they will die. And it will happen with redfish as well. And water temps this morning were 45 degrees. So, we're going to be in a situation where it's going to be a very, very close call. But, we're going to certainly have some. Hopefully it's not going to be severe. But, a lot of people are watching out for that as, with this event, the water temps were pretty cold because of what we had last week. So everybody's kind of watching that to see if it gets down in the 30s. And if it gets down to the 30s, we could have some significant problems.
That's going to be rough. That is going to be absolutely rough. Dr. Josh Isha said the overnight low tonight and tomorrow is going to be 10.
Yeah, that's where it causes problem. And we're talking about the coast down there, but it doesn't need to get to 10 down there. It just needs to drop that water temperature. And, the best thing that can happen is for the coast and for those things is for us to get plenty of sunshine tomorrow. And that will help things significantly with the water temps. But, it's not going to happen tonight. I can see out to the west right now. You can kind of see shades of, what's going to be a pending sunset in a little while. So I think it's going to turn partly cloudy tonight. And if as these clouds move out, that's going to allow it to get even more cold.
Yeah, and all the while not with any wind. When we had Dr. Idris on with us in our last segment, he was talking about one of the weirder parts about this is normally the weather comes through and then the cold comes through as well. Our cold front actually hit before the storm, so any wind that we have is dying down, which is going to affect us negatively when it comes to evaporation.
Yeah, the wind has significantly it has significantly died down. In fact, right now it's almost dead. I would say it's probably blowing 3 to 4 miles per hour right now.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what happens. Hey, I have an answer to our question.
Okay.
All right. To be named a winter storm,
Yes.
typically needs to meet criteria set by the National Weather Service, such as impacting a population of at least 2 million people under a winter storm warning. All right, so we got that. Are covering a large geographical area exceeding 400,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Montana, signifying a significant potential impact from the storm. This naming system is primarily managed by the Weather Channel.
No.
I swear.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
The main factor for naming a winter storm is the expected severity of its impact, including heavy snowfall, ice accumulations, and strong winds, which could cause widespread power outages and hazardous travel conditions.
Yeah, I think the main impact on naming a winter storm is how much Jim Cantore can put on his expense report.
And it says again, the Weather Channel is the primary entity responsible for naming winter storms. The goal of naming helps raise public awareness about potentially dangerous weather events, encouraging people to prepare accordingly.
Yeah, and affecting deductibles for those who have insurance claims.
So that is, there's your, now we know why the names are so silly. The Weather Channel does it.
Yeah.
So at least we got that solved.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm surprised we haven't named one Cantore, or maybe I bet you all of these storms have been named after Cantore's pets.
Probably. I would not doubt that. Pets that he abandons every time he has to leave and go cover a storm. I don't know if he brings them with him or not. I'm thinking the worst of him.
I mean, Cantore would get lost in one of these snowdrifts. He's only like 4'2".
We had Cantore deep snow in Baton Rouge today.
I think you're gonna, I think you're gonna say, and it's gonna be interesting to see. The other thing that's gonna be interesting to see is how, what is the, because we're going to start getting totals from all over, and we talked about earlier how these totals can vary from place to place, and it'll be really interesting to find out what the biggest official total is in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, I heard 8.1 thus far. So that was the biggest one we've seen. This is the biggest we've seen so far. So
yeah, and it's so funny. It's like people that go fishing. It's always, I caught a 5-pounder, and it was a 3-pounder.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people today, we've had 12 to 14 inches of snow. And I'm like, I don't want to tell them that on this day and burst their bubble, but I'm like, no, you didn't have 12 to 14 inches of snow because 12 to 14 inches of snow piled up on a corner of your house somewhere. It doesn't work that way, but hey, look, enjoy it, Well,
and at the same time, though, do you realize how difficult it is to not be sophomoric about this?
Oh, I mean, look, everybody's acting like kids. I mean,
That's not what I meant, Kevin. That is not what I meant.
Oh, yes. Yes. Here I am. Look, I'm the one with the disclaimer now, so I'm trying to be nice, okay? And now you're going to have a disclaimer, okay?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get blamed for all of my bad habits rubbing off on you. But yes, I definitely know where you're going with that, and I'm doing my very best not to take it like.
It's not a competition to see who can get the most inches, Kevin.
Yeah, it is always a competition. And I'm going to tell you one thing: as cold as it is right now, it's going to be very hard to do.
Oh, well played. He's Kevin Ford. You catch him on Let's Go Fishing. You're still scheduled. You know what? Are you still scheduled as normal? Yeah, I think you are this week.
I don't know if we can get somebody there.
We will work on that off the air. In the meanwhile, I appreciate a couple minutes, man. Thank you for hopping on board.
All right, tell everybody. Look, everyone out there, just enjoy this afternoon, but please don't get out. And I know everybody. All these people say it over and over again, but don't let what is a beautiful situation today turn into a disaster or something really bad for you. Don't get out on the roads. Just enjoy this at home as much as you can, because this will get dangerous tonight. And, you don't want to preach to people, Brian, but, people just need to be aware of,
there's a difference there between, raising awareness and preaching. We're hopefully somewhere right down the middle. We'll talk to you soon, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Amen, brother.
Later on, we got to take a quick break. We will continue next. This is continuing coverage of apparently Winter Storm Enzo on Talk 107.3. It's 4:51 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. This is continuing coverage of Winter Storm Enzo on Talk 107.3. Brian Haldane here with you. We're at 28 degrees. Is that right? Yeah, 28 in downtown Baton Rouge. As we start to move our way towards sundown. And the long and the short, the biggest part of the story is this is not going to be a one-day event. This is going to roll over into tomorrow and then into Thursday. Hey, still to come on the show, we're going to talk with Mayor President Sid Edwards in our next segment. We're going to talk with Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, flybtr.com after that. And I need a moment of personal privilege, if I could, to shout out the folks at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, Presley Wealth Management, Rev, and Restore the Mississippi River Delta. every year we head up to Washington, D.C. around this time for Washington Mardi Gras. It's one of the things we like doing here at Talk 107.3 FM because we like taking you inside how our state functions. And we're a state that can pull this party off like nobody else, because it's not just a party, it's a hell of a lot of business throughout the day. There's a hell of a lot of business, there's a hell of a lot of networking, there's a hell of a lot of community going on. There's open seminars, there's learning. It is really, for me, it is one of it's like a preseason game for the legislative session. I lean on three things every year before I go into the session: Washington Mardi Gras, Lobby's annual meeting, and the Pelican Institute's Solutions Summit. Those three things are a must on my calendar every single year. So we like to shout out the sponsors for Washington Mardi Gras because it does take a little bit to get us there. And the folks at Rev, Presley Wealth Management, Baton Rouge Metro Airport, and Restore the Mississippi River Delta have all been fantastic in signing up this year. We have a number of repeat sponsors because it's a trip that's worth having. The content that we get when we get there is phenomenal. The people we run into are remarkable. And this year, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different in that I can't get out of town before Thursday. Normally, Wednesday's my travel day. Post up, set up. And we are on the air Thursday morning at 7 a.m., 6 Central. And we do 2 shows a day. A morning drive and afternoon drive, Thursday and Friday. This year, because of the weather, we're in the process of revamping the whole thing. So on the one hand, it's going to stink that I'm not there on Thursday for what is kind of worked itself into some staple segments. On the other hand, we're going to be bringing you some bonus content over the weekend that may spill over into next week and may provide some added bonuses on top over on social media as well. So we're in the process of working all that out right now. I know as we've done this for a handful of years already. God, it feels like just yesterday that we just started it, but I mean, this will be our, I think 5th trip up. It is that quickly become an absolute staple around here. And those of you, it's one of those ones, if you know, you know. If you know, you know, and you know the value of it once you start to hear who we talk to and what we talk about once we get there. So shout out again to Presley Wealth Management, Restore the Mississippi River Delta, Rev, and the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, who, by the way, we will talk with in our next hour. Mike Edwards is going to join us. Obviously, everything today canceled at the airport. What's it looking like tomorrow? And I really want to dig in on this when we get Mike on the phone, is what goes into the decision to reopen? Because it can't just be, okay, we've de-iced the runway, we're looking good here. If the airport's golden, but I-110 is shut down, what's the use of having a plane take off with nobody on it, right? So we'll talk with Mike. Flybtr.com if you got a flight scheduled. Find out the status of your flight at flybtr.com. In the meanwhile, let's go ahead and reset a couple of our top stories. And don't forget, Mayor President Sid Edwards at 5:05. Don't want to miss out on that because welcome to the gig, Sid. Welcome in, Coach. That's I would say baptism by fire, but it's baptism by snow for sure. All right, a couple of things to talk about before we get you into the news at the top of the hour here. Which, do I have enough time? I do. All right, a couple of things we want to dive in on real quick, and that is what we can expect essentially hour by hour as the evening wears on. Sun's going to be going down pretty soon, and once that sun goes down, it's going to get cold, y'all, like super cold, like 10 degrees overnight low. 27 with a feels like of 19 right now. I said 28 a minute ago. That was from a different radar. 27 with a feels like of 17 or of 19 right now. What we're looking at here is down to 25 by 7 p.m. By 11 p.m., 21. And then in the overnight hours in the 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. range in the teens. Now, I forget the name of it, but there's a term for it. When the sun comes back up, the temperature takes a secondary dip. It's actually not the coldest before the dawn. It's coldest right after that. And there's a term for it, but we're expected to get down to 10 for that. Now, all the while, you got the people who drove on the roads today, crunched up the snow, packed it in a little bit. You've got the natural just gravity taking effect. If anything did have a chance to melt off today, what melted is just sitting on the road is going to refreeze if it hasn't drained, because there really hasn't been enough opportunity for anything to evaporate. It's got to be straight drainage. And then what melts off the roads, it has the potential to drain onto the roads. So what the governor advised us of in his press conference today, and we're going to have all that audio for you next hour, what the governor advised us of, which Joe Donahue from DOTD advised us of, and Colonel Hodges over at State Police, they're all basically singing the same tune. And that is, this was not a one-day event. Tomorrow will be worse than today. Not in terms of the snow coming down. Believe it or not, that was the fun part. But in terms of just having to ride it out. And it's difficult to do because you're going to be looking at sunshine. It's difficult to do because it's going to be like, oh, look, it's beautiful outside. But no, we need a little more diligence. We need a little more stay at home. So, all right, we're coming up on the top of the hour. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right here. Catch ABC News. Mayor President Coach Sid Edwards joins us next. Guess I need to update that. Hotline. Yes. Hey, Chaselin, this is Brian. How are you? We are, we're in news right now. We'll be in at 5:05 on the nose. So give us about 2.5 minutes, and we're coming right to you. I'll have them out by 5:15 at the latest. This who? Hey, what's happening, Councilman Hurst? How are you? Yeah, you do the same. Well, dude, I'm in the guarantee building like for the duration. Well, I mean, it's. I don't know if it's walking distance once that sun goes down. It's gonna be a little cold for that. Yeah. So, all right, we'll do. You too, man. Hang tight. Coming to coach in just a second. Thanks. Did I tell you 5:15 or 5:30? .506 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, 27 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, bringing you one more hour of coverage of Winter Storm Enzo, as it were. Yeah, it has a name. We call it Enzo. We got a busy hour for you this hour. We want to start off though by talking to the man at the top, the coach himself. Mayor President Sid Edwards is on the hotline. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing good. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well as well. So how about this for your first month on the job, huh?
Boy, I tell you, it's been active. You know, we wake up on January 1st, a few hours into it, and there was the terrorist attack in New Orleans. And then now we got a blizzard. How about that?
Record setting, by the way. I know the official numbers haven't been posted yet, but for the modern era, it looks like we're going to take on more snow than we've ever seen in Baton Rouge.
Well, I'm 62, and I can tell you, I haven't seen anything like this in my life.
Absolutely. Well, I believe WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Each, said we're breaking a record that was set in 1914. So I think we're safe on the no one saw this part.
No one's around.
Yeah,
Time,
absolutely.
Sure.
Walk me through the last, let's say, 48 hours from your offices, from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's been hectic, but it's been exhilarating. And the big thing is just doing everything we can to keep our parish, keep the city of Baton Rouge safe. And there's been an awful lot of work from a lot of wonderful, dedicated, committed people. You know, we spent 48 hours ago is just trying to open up warming stations and shelters and all that. We got to the Emergency Operations Center yesterday, and I can't give bigger accolades to those people than, I mean, just tremendous. Our local law enforcement, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, the Constable's Office, just everybody. What a team that you know, I got to walk in on. And so the big thing, Brian, we've just been trying to keep people safe, you know, is the big thing.
When it comes to keeping people safe, I mean, the first thing is keeping people off the roads. That's the obvious part right there. But in a city and parish the size of East Baton Rouge, it gets a little bit difficult because normally we don't see something like a curfew get dropped on us here. Has that been talked about yet?
We've talked about a curfew. I'm standing down on that. I'm not ready to make that call. I know all our surrounding parishes have. We're simply asking our citizens to stay off the roads. You know, with a curfew comes a lot of things. You know, I said the whole campaign, we're short on police officers, right?
Right.
And they're busy, you know, saving lives, keeping things straight. We've got them stationed at all the shelters. They're riding around town trying to pick up the homeless. They're pretty busy, as is the Sheriff's Department. And I just think I'm hoping everybody stays in their house, you know, and heeds what we're saying, because this is kind of fool's gold. Today was a day of snowballs and snowmen and flakes floating down, but the easy part's over. The hard part, I think, is going to be the next 24 to 36 hours. This stuff's going to turn to ice. Mm-hmm. There is hopefully not chance for power outages, and the driving conditions are going to be way worse from really now for the next 24, 36 than they've been at any time.
No, absolutely. That's the way the governor put it in his press conference was, this is, you know, the fun part's over with. And now we're focusing on where we go from here with the freeze. So with that in mind, where do we go from here with the freeze? What does your next 24 hours look like as far as, you know, deploying the resources we have?
Well, I think the fire department's been a little busy. You know, we've had a couple of fires today, and I can't call why, but when they're in an abandoned house, somebody's trying to stay warm usually. Mm-hmm. So they've been busy. EMS, their call volume picked up this afternoon, and a lot of that's just from injuries, you know, what we call amateur skiers, right? In Baton Rouge, that type stuff. So everybody's been pretty busy, and we're just monitoring. The big thing is the bitter cold. We're on the road right now. We're currently at the Charles Kelly Community Center, Darrell Hurst home base. Mm-hmm. Darrell Hurst and his family have opened up a shelter here. There are people here, and we're visiting the various shelters to check on everybody. We're going to head towards downtown. We've heard rumors of people walking around down that way. But the issue is people have their freedom, right?
Yes.
We're turned down. For every one we get to come, there's 8 or 9 people who turn us down. But we're doing I can promise you, no stone unturned to keep everyone safe, in particular the homeless. So that's what we're going to be doing, you know, the next 24, and just following where are we on the roads. Here comes, you know, DOTD, DPW. Where are we at that point? Just being out on the road right now ourselves, but we have the proper equipment. It's already icing. it's icing up already, and it's going to be treacherous. So those are the things. I think our roads are going to be a focus, and people understanding that the danger's not over. The things we were worried about is really just starting.
No, absolutely, absolutely. The kids playing in the snow was what today was about, and now just shifting the focus to where. And the hard part here, Coach, and we got Mayor President Sid Edwards on with us. The hard part here is you got to combine the kids having the fun part for today mixed with the adults having to be, just basically on lockdown. There's a limited amount of time, like internally, before the want is to get back outside. And tomorrow morning, the sun's going to be out, and mentally, everything's going to tell you, hey, the sun's out. It's beautiful. I can go out. But that's just not the case.
You hit it right on the head. And what's going to happen? There's some businesses that are losing business by being shut down, right? So some more places are going to start to pop open, and it's going to, of course, encourage people to get out. Our only thing is, don't jump out tonight. You find out the Be Quick's open and you need some Pop-Tarts and some Diet Coke. Man, just hold off. Give us a chance. We do. We don't have a lot of snow plows in Baton Rouge, but our DPW is being really creative, with some backhoes and rigging some equipment to get this snow and ice off the road. We're working, but you got to give us a little bit time. But that's my fear, Brian. It really is that, hey, look, we good now. It's different than a lightning storm or a hurricane. It's just a different animal.
Right.
It's you can see the hurricane, you can see down power lines, you can see a tree in the road, but you can't see that black ice. You can't see it. You have no idea. Then all of a sudden, we got an issue.
Well, and the other part of that, Coach, is that when you do see the down power lines and you do hit the brakes, you do stop. When you do hit the brakes on the ice, you don't.
No, it's not happening. You 100% correct.
Well, in the meanwhile, I appreciate the hard work. You mentioned DPW getting creative. We had Fred Rayford on with us yesterday morning, and he offhandedly mentioned something to the effect of a makeshift snowplow. So, look, if you give us the chance to redneck, I'm sure you got people signing up to help out.
We're in the right part of the country to makeshift, aren't we?
I had this image in my head of like a plastic tailgate table being ratchet strapped to the front of an F-150. And now I can't get that out of my head, so I don't know where they went with that.
Oh, Brian, it's been look. I got a call for a request for a snowblower. I said a snowblower. I said, and Baton Rouge is called a shovel.
It's about right. It's about right. He is Mayor President Sid Edwards, man. I know you got a lot to get to. I appreciate you carving out a couple minutes for us.
Appreciate you, man. Thank
Always. You. Yep, absolutely. It's oh man, it's late. I'm glad we can still stay a little bit lighthearted as we're still ahead of the crisis, right? 10 degrees tonight. And I know we're late for a break. I know we got to go, but it's just, you heard it in Coach's voice right there. You heard it in Mayor President Sid Edwards' voice right there about how for every one person who was willing to accept help, you had 7 or 8 who wouldn't. And the weight of knowing what's around the corner with the temperature. I tell you what, let's pick that conversation up at a later time. We got to stay on before we get into that end of it. Let's stay on task here. Airport. It's time to talk to them. We're going to have Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport on with us next. We'll continue. This is continuing coverage of Winter Storm Enzo on Talk 107.3. Hey, Mike. Hey, all right, man. I appreciate you hanging back a minute. I had Sid Edwards on with us, and he thought we were going from 5 to 5:15, but we didn't come in until 5:05. And once you get him going, it's I knew we were going to run long ahead of time. So, all right. So we're going to talk about prep work that the airport does. Do we know roughly when the airport's going to open back up? But what I really want to get into is what goes into that equation, because it's one thing to de-ice the runway and have everything cool there, but if 110's still shut down, what's the use of an airport that no one can get to? All right, and I've been shouting the hell out of y'all for the sponsorship of Washington Mardi Gras, and now I can't even get there. Yep. Yep, I'll be out of here on Thursday to get up there. So hopefully, God willing, right? So all right, hang tight for me. I'm gonna drop you right back on hold. We're in the break right now. Less than 2 minutes ago till you're up. Thanks. We are continuing on Talk 107.3 FM with coverage of Winter Storm Enzo. A big part of this has been the airport doing their prep work, doing their due diligence, shutting things down ahead of time, knowing that everything would be canceled today, and well, keeping an eye on points beyond. You have a storm like this when you have record-setting snow in Baton Rouge. What goes into the whole works? Give us the whole equation, the whole recipe, as it were. Joining us now from BTR is Mike Edwards. Mike, how are you, man?
Doing well, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing very well as well. So word came down early yesterday about the cancellations for today. Baton Rouge Metro Airport obviously did their homework on this one.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Brian. So we had our crews come in last night, but we started preparing for this storm last week. So what we do in advance of the storm is we coordinate with our airline partners. They make all the decisions in terms of when and if they'll cease flight operations. So we started getting cancellations from them yesterday. It really ticked up when Houston, both Houston Intercontinental and Houston Hobby, they shut down the airports for the storm in advance, and then they're still working to reopen, obviously. So United canceled all of their flights today, as well as Delta and American. But like I was saying, we had our team here last night, and then early this morning, we started pre-treating our primary runway and primary air carrier taxi route. And then, we will be here throughout this weather event to work to get the airport back to normal operations. It looks like we received about 6+ inches of snow on the airfield, but we have areas where we have drifts that are at least 12 inches or higher.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an impressive event. I think it's definitely a historic snowfall for this airport. Obviously, it's just like with the roadways. The pavement temperature was warm enough that it melted about half the snow that fell, and now all of that is freezing. So that's going to be a real challenge over the next 24 hours to get the runways back open.
Okay, now bear in mind, Mike, we got Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport on with us. FlyBTR.com if you want to check your flight status tomorrow. Bear in mind, I'm asking every question from a point of complete ignorance. Okay, so what goes into getting that runway back up and running? I mean, do y'all have like heaters you put out there to help advance it? Is there any? I don't know why I have this image in my head of a tarp going out over like it would over the infield for a rain delay in baseball, but like, how do y'all put together to get everything back to where it should be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I just heard Mayor Edwards say that, we don't have many plows in Baton Rouge, and he's right. So what we do have here at BTR is we have de-icing chemicals that we can use on the runway. Unfortunately, we can't use salt or brine like DOTD uses on the highways because it's highly corrosive to aircraft engine components. But we can use sodium acetate, which is a liquid de-icer, and potassium acetate, which is a solid pellet de-icer. So we'll pre-treat the runway with the sodium acetate. That helps to keep things from freezing, but with the amount of snowfall we got and with the prolonged temperatures below freezing, that only goes so far. So then tomorrow morning, what we'll be doing first thing is we'll go out and apply that solid potassium acetate de-icing pellets on our primary runway and taxiway. And the goal is to get, at least a 75-foot wide swath of the runway that's clear of snow and ice contaminants that the airlines could begin operating again on that pavement. But we've got to get the braking action to where it's safe for them to do so.
In the meanwhile, this is going to be coordinated with other airports, like you said, or with the airlines as well. So what's that collaboration look like?
Yeah, I've been talking to some of the other directors around the state. Lake Charles and Lafayette are in the same situation as us and doing very similar things to us. The only airport in the state, as far as to the best of my knowledge, that has more snow removal equipment that we do would be Shreveport, but they see quite a bit more snow than we typically do here. As far as the airlines, it's just, constant communication between my team and between our airline partners. So making sure that they're up to date on the conditions of the airfield and, the timing for reopening. But it's not just the airlines. It's also our partners over in the air traffic control tower, TSA, all of our fuelers who fuel the airlines, and then all the folks that work in the terminal, the airline personnel. They have to be able to get here too. So a big part of this puzzle is getting the roadways back open as well, so folks can get safely to and from the airport.
Well, not just the employees, Mike, but the passengers as well. I mean, what good's an airport that no one can get to?
Right, absolutely. So, we're all in this together, and I know everybody's working hard. The city, parish, and state employees that are out there on the roads working to get those back open, and then our team here at the airport will be working through the night tonight and most of the day tomorrow to get things back to normal.
Last one before I get you out of here, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up because this is with the direct flight to Washington, D.C. from BTR to Reagan National that leaves every morning that's not iced over. This is a really, really busy time for y'all, from the number of Baton Rougeans that went up to the inauguration to those of us who are headed to Washington Mardi Gras. Your message for those folks who have flights to DC is what right now?
Yeah, we were really excited about this week. It's a busy week for us here. Most of the flights we're already at capacity or sold out before this storm. So my message is we're working as hard as we can to get things back to normal, but just please be patient with us. Mother Nature's presented us with a real challenge here, and we're doing our best to think outside the box to solve it as quickly as possible. But we are going to continue to see cancellations, unfortunately, most likely throughout the day tomorrow and on into Thursday. Right now, American has canceled the DCA flight and the first two DFW flights, as well as the Charlotte flight, the first Charlotte flight tomorrow morning. Delta's canceled 4 flights to Atlanta so far. And then United's canceled their 2 first flights out in the morning. So there will likely, unfortunately, be more cancellations to come.
No doubt.
Yeah, but we'll be working to do everything we can to minimize the impacts.
He is Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. If you've got a flight scheduled, for tomorrow, obviously the likelihood is going to be that it cancels. But flybtr.com is your website. Flybtr.com is where you want to go to check the status of your flight. Mike, I appreciate a couple minutes this evening. Morning show. I appreciate a couple minutes this evening. Let me know if there's any, as information continues to come in when we can get folks back in the air. We're more than happy to put you back on.
All right. Thanks, Brian. And I just end with saying, before coming to the airport, make sure you check the status of your flight with your airline.
100%. Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. Mike Edwards from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. We're almost to 5:30 in the evening here on Talk 107.3 FM. Before we take our next break, I do want to share a little bit of news along the way. When we had Sid Edwards on in our previous segment, I was asking him about curfews in EBR, a city and parish this size. It's difficult to do. One of the things that Coach mentioned when he said we were arguing, or when he made the argument against the curfew is, man, you really don't want to have cops chasing people for breaking curfew. It's just that when you've got one person on the street, that's bad. When you've got someone chasing them down, that's doubled. I completely echo that sentiment. So Mayor President Sid Edwards saying we're as of right now, I mean, if things change, it might change, but as of right now, no curfew for East Baton Rouge Parish. That being said, the surrounding areas, a little bit different. In Livingston Parish, we are looking at dusk this evening until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ascension Parish, 6 p.m. this evening until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Iberville Parish, 6 p.m. this evening until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Point Capee, 6 p.m. this evening until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And St. Mary Parish, well, St. Mary Parish is a little bit of a different animal. It's 5 p.m. today, so they're already under curfew until 7 a.m. tomorrow. And then St. James Parish is until noon tomorrow. So those are your curfews from the surrounding area. Individually, Gonzales is dusk today till dawn tomorrow, and Zachary is 4 p.m. today. So they've been under curfew for an hour and a half already. 4 p.m. today until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Some totals are starting to come back in. I tell you what, let's take a quick break right now. We're going to go back to Kevin Ford when we come back. We also need to check in with DOTD. We heard from Joe Donahue during the governor's press conference, and we're going to hear from Colonel Robert Hodges, who was on during the governor's press conference as well. All that's still to come. And another some more audio from Governor Jeff Landry as he met with the media at 3 o'clock this afternoon, kind of giving the full assessment and where we're at. This is continuing coverage of Winter Storm Enzo on Talk 107.3. We'll continue next. hotline. Hey, let me knock out. It's going to be about 4 minutes worth of a segment. And then I'm going to come right to you. Okay. All right. Hang tight. We are continuing our coverage of Winter Storm Enzo here on Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Just before we came on air, Governor Jeff Landry held a press conference with a number of folks that are, principals and putting things back together again, getting us back out there. We're going to hear from Joe Donahue from DOTD a little bit later on in the show. I mean, we got a good 23 minutes to go before we're out of here. But right now, I want to get you to Colonel Robert Hodges, heads up Louisiana State Police. And the talking point this afternoon, the reminder, the alert, what we need to know for this afternoon is we want to stay off the roads. Today was fun. Today was snow. Tonight and tomorrow is ice. And between the snow and the ice, you've got danger on the roads for two different reasons. So, Kate, if you could please, look, bear with this. It's about a 2-minute soundbite. It's Colonel Hodges' full statement from the press conference, but I want it to air in its entirety to get his message across. Kate, if you would, Colonel Hodges.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Robert Hodges, Superintendent, Louisiana State Police. Throughout the day, troopers have been on constant patrol, working closely with Louisiana DOTD and our local first responders to monitor road conditions. As many area roadways and interstate systems remain closed and unsafe to travel, we continue to urge our residents to avoid getting in their vehicle and getting on the roadways. As of this afternoon, troopers have responded to over 50 weather-related crashes and calls for service throughout the state. The vast majority of these crashes are from vehicles driving off of the road and driving too fast for the cold conditions. When travel lanes are not visible on the roadway, it's extremely difficult to navigate, and you are very, very likely to lose control of your vehicle. Many of these crashes are the result of unnecessary travel. It's extremely difficult for many people to stay home. But as the governor and others have already said, enjoy this magical moment with your family and the snow and remain home and enjoy the opportunity of a lifetime for many. When you travel on the road, you not only place motorists in danger, but also our first responders and of course our DOTD personnel who are trying to clear the roads as soon as possible to make sure we can get back to regular conditions. Stay weather aware by following our social media accounts for the latest conditions and safety information throughout this event. In closing, I want to remind everyone to listen to their local officials and follow their directives in the cities and the parishes. Many have curfews and restrictions. You need to heed to those directives across the state. Please stay safe, stay warm, and stay home, Louisiana. Thank you.
As of right now, it's pretty much, unless you work for DPW or DOTD or state police, as of right now, it's basically all unnecessary travel because there's nowhere you can go. There's nothing that's going to be open when you get there. You're not going to, you're not going to find Wandering Oaken's trading post. Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout. In order to leave the house, you got to have something on the destination end. And I know if you didn't stock up beforehand, and you might be running a little bit low on Doritos or some food and drink. Getting out of the house means going to a place. Going to a place means that place has to be open, which likely is not. All right, we're going to get back into some audio from that press conference a little bit later on. Right now, we want to welcome Kevin Ford back in. He's got some totals for us. We just heard between 6 and 7 inches out at the airport, while there were some drifts that got up over 12. Kevin, what kind of numbers you got for us?
All right, these were 2 o'clock numbers, and these came out of the New Orleans area. So what we're going to find when this is all over with is this was more, the further south you went, in most cases, the most snow you got.
Yeah.
As of this time, and it's still snowing there. As of 2 p.m., the most snow we've had officially that I can find is in mid-city of New Orleans. And this is official, 9.5 inches. of snow mid-city New Orleans. Just to give you an idea, the airport in Kenner in New Orleans, 5.5 inches. Thibodaux, 6 inches. In St. Bernard Parish, which is like towards Chalmette, 7 inches of snow. St. Charles Parish, North Coast, 7.8 inches of snow. Gramercy, 7 inches. Lutcher, 6.5. Laplace had 5. As we go to the North Shore, Pearl River and Abita Springs and Mandeville each had 5 inches of snow. Ponchatoula with 6 inches. Hammond with 4 inches. Homa with 7.8 inches of snow. And then you get to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Waveland with 6 inches, Biloxi with 5 inches. And these are official numbers. And the further south and east you go, that was at 2 o'clock. Those numbers are going to continue to go up. So I think what we're going to find with this is to the south and east of us, there will actually be more snow totals than we had here in Baton Rouge, which is kind of weird. New Orleans will officially have more snow than we will.
Yeah, which I find amazing because the way the storm rolled through, Kevin, we had blizzard conditions west of us, and I felt we were getting the brunt of the snow here. But man, as I was seeing photos and video coming in from New Orleans, and like you said those were 2 p.m. numbers. So by 2 p.m., we were essentially done with the downfall here. We were done with the actual precipitation part of it here. But we got to remember this storm was going from here to there, so they would have had another hour and a half worth of snow coming down.
And remember, every number I just gave you was a 2 p.m. number. So the lowest total, the worst snowmen you can find will be in Boutte, Louisiana, with 2.8 inches. So, we've seen those numbers fluctuate, but mid-city in New Orleans is, that's basically, around Carrollton and the City Park area, in that, the park, the big park. I'm from New Orleans.
City Park
in that area. That's 9.1 inches. So they will be approaching 10 inches by the time that this is done. And I just thought those would be some interesting numbers for people to hear out of the New Orleans area, as we will find that Southeast Louisiana certainly got the brunt of this. And we may see some totals from like Belle Chase and those areas that could get a little bit higher. And, the models kind of showed that the moisture was going to be going a little bit further to the south. And we were kind of like on the edge of it here. The further north you get from Baton Rouge, the totals start to go down significantly. So we were kind of right on the edge of it here, believe it or not. And usually you'd think we would be on the southern edge of a snow system, but we were actually right on the northern edge of it.
Well, but the question was going to become was about temperature. While we were a good 5 degrees below below 32, we were at 27, 28 all day long. Was New Orleans going to be at that same clip, and was it going to be more wintry mix for them than straight up snow?
What's funny is I have relatives in Tennessee, so I'm up there and I see snow. And a lot of times when it snows up there, the snow actually comes down at 33, 34 degrees. And it's not the temperature on the ground as much as what's the temperature in the upper atmosphere sometimes that affects this, whether you're going to have freezing rain, snow, or whatever. And the temperatures in the upper atmosphere are extremely cold, and that's why that snow was able to fall down there the way it did when they were hovering right about freezing or a little bit above freezing, especially in some other areas right on the coast where they were, above freezing a little bit. So just the incredible numbers that we're going to see coming out of this. And we're going to see Southeast Louisiana and the New Orleans metro area, when it's all said and done, will have had more snow than we did in Baton Rouge.
Which is pretty amazing considering how much we had here. We definitely got our fill. We for a record-setting fill since 1914. The record was set today. The record was set this morning for snow in Baton Rouge. So, Kevin, I appreciate you hopping back in, man. Some pretty shocking numbers, to be sure. Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Yep. When you stay warm. Went to Jesuit High School. Forgot City Park's name. Kate, that's ready. Unscripted. I love that. Just saying, he went to high school 2 miles away from the park. All right. We got a lot more ground to cover right now. I want to reiterate the biggest message of the evening is that the overnight low is projected to be 10. The overnight low is projected to be 10. That is dangerously, dangerously cold. So by all means, please Make sure you got that drip going out of your faucet. Make sure your outdoor pipes are covered, insulated, to be sure. You don't want that cold air going back up the spigots, freezing things from the inside out. And man, I just be safe with the space heaters. If for some reason you do lose power, by all means, make sure that if you have a portable generator, that portable generator is outside. I know it's going to be below, well below freezing. But man, if you put that generator, if you say, you know what? I'm fine under the carport with it because it's too cold to get out there beyond there. Or I'm fine in the garage. You're not. You're not fine in the garage with it. Get that generator. If for some reason you lose power, please get that generator outside. And please, by all means, adhere to every safety requirement and guideline when it comes to having the space heaters. All right, we got one more break to go. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what Governor Jeff Landry had to say, talking about the Winter Wonderland and how it moves to the dangerous part. We'll also hear from Joe Donahue from DOTD when we come back. This is continuing coverage of Winter Storm Enzo on Talk 107.3. I gotta call off. I'm not gonna get there in time. We're at 550 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Yep, with all the winter storm, I did not update the promo. My apologies. Sorry about that. That was yesterday. Well, that was the promo for today's show. So I can tell you tomorrow morning on the show, it's going to be a lot of follow-up from today. We'll reach out to the Baton Rouge Fire Department, as they did have to respond to a number of fires today. We will be reaching out to the Baton Rouge Police Department as well. You know what? It's Wednesday, and we will have our Legally Served segment as well. Franz will obviously be on the phone, as he won't be able to get down to the studio. But if you want to step away from Winter Storm Enzo coverage for a little bit, Franz and I will have a little bit of fun covering some legal aspects, to be sure. All right, we're going to continue right now. We got about 8 minutes to go here. Let's go back to the governor's press conference real quick. Governor Jeff Landry held a press conference at about 3:00 this afternoon, and within that press conference, he talked about the duality of this winter storm, because it's not all. Everything that happened today was the fun part. I tell you what, I'm not going to stumble through trying to explain how the governor set this up. Let me just, Kate, if you could, Landry 1 for me, please.
There's going to be a natural inclination that when the snow stops, that the problem is going to stop, but that's not true. Actually, the problems are actually going to begin. This winter wonderland that we're seeing right now is going to end, and a hard freeze is going to begin. So the fun is going to come to a quick end. And for many of us out there, the work is really going to begin. Jay is going to come in and talk to us in more depth about the forecast and what we're going to see over the next 24 to 36 hours. But the bottom line is that it is getting ready to be dangerously, and I repeat, dangerously cold over the next several days.
My apologies for that secondary voice stepping on the governor towards the back end of that soundbite. It was a dual in-person and Zoom press conference there, as the governor wanted to make sure that he was practicing what he preached. If you don't want people out on the road, you can't have everybody coming into a press conference. So he opened it up online, and clearly someone hadn't muted their microphone. But what a great way to keep people off the road, right? I mean, when you're in the media and you're covering the press conferences post-hurricane and whatnot, going over to GoStep is part of the process. That's just the routine. Well, not part of the options for today, to be sure. All right, let's pivot our focus over to the roads. That's going to be a lot of the focus throughout tomorrow. And within that focus is what can DOTD get done over the course of, well, today from when the snow ended, all the way through. I don't know how much they're going to be able to work overnight when the temperatures get as low as they do, but into tomorrow as well when the sun comes up. Joe Donahue heads up DOTD. He was at that press conference today as well. This is another one that's going to run about 2 minutes, so I wanted to let you hear in its entirety everything that DOTD had to report today.
I'd first off like to start by reiterating what the governor and Jay had just said, that the roads will not be safe tomorrow. We will be working actively. We continue to be in a 24-hour operation mode and have transitioned from pre-treatment to snow removal and treatment with salt. Be also aware that these operations involve slow-moving vehicles and equipment. And so if you do find yourself on the road, be cognizant of that, pay attention, and please watch out for the salt spreaders and other equipment, snow plows that are out there on the road. We did have an incident this morning on I-10 near the Texas border where one of our salt spreaders was involved in a collision. And so I just urge everyone to stay home. And if you do get out on the road, please be aware of your surroundings and look out for our personnel and our equipment that's out there on the road trying to open our routes across the state. The good news that I have to report is that all of our designated priority routes are currently open and are expected to remain open. And so these involve those at-grade roadways that do not have the structures, the long bridges over water. And so as things currently stand, we do have pathways east to west, west to east of the state, as well as north to south. So as far as moving forward, as the precipitation stops, we are going to expand our efforts to preserve those existing designated routes and then expand beyond that to other secondary routes which, as we discussed yesterday, includes primarily interstates and our U.S. routes. And once those are also secured, we will then switch to the remainder of our state highways. And so as things progress, you can continue to monitor the status of road closures on 511la.org and virtualla.gov, as the governor mentioned. And with that, Governor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, I'm not the governor, but thank you for turning it back over to me. We got just a couple minutes left here. Just enough time for us to squeeze in some restated items from throughout the afternoon. School closures. Let's talk a little bit about school closures. Everybody's closed tomorrow. That one's a given, right? Everyone will be closed tomorrow. Ascension Parish Public Schools have already announced that they're staying shut down on Thursday. As I understand it, EBR schools, I don't know that they've made the call for Thursday yet. I'm looking here at our news partners over WBRZ. Say Tuesday and Wednesday right now. I would be shocked if that doesn't, carry over for one more day. Assumption Parish has not made the call for Thursday yet, but is closed for tomorrow. Over in East Feliciana Parish, they are closed tomorrow. Tune back in tomorrow to find out about Thursday. Iberville already made the call for Thursday. Iberville Parish Public Schools closed today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Livingston Parish Schools today and tomorrow. Stay tuned for more on that one. And Point Capee Parish Schools today and tomorrow. Stay tuned on that one. Same with St. Helena and St. James Parish. And if you're picking this up down, West Baton Rouge. Do not want to forget about West Baton Rouge Parish Schools. They are closed today and tomorrow. So for Iberville and Ascension, you already know you got the next 2 days off. For the remainder, it's tomorrow, and then we will regroup and see what's what along the way. We always tell you that when it comes to your school individually, check with your school. Do not rely on the media for this. There's a lot of points of communication along the way, and a lot of chances for the ball to be dropped. Not by anybody in particular, but when you're compiling huge lists, it can happen from time to time. So definitely your best source of information is going to come from your kid's school. One more before we get you out of here, and that's to recap what the curfews are. East Baton Rouge Parish does not have a curfew for tonight as of right now. Mayor President Sid Edwards talked about what went into that decision. That being said, though, most of our surrounding parishes do. Point Capee Parish, 6 p.m. this evening, so coming up a minute and a half from right now until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Same with Iberville Parish and Ascension Parish. Livingston Parish, dusk today till 10 a.m. tomorrow. St. Mary Parish went under their curfew about an hour ago. St. James Parish has been under their curfew since 11:15 this morning. Will continue through noon tomorrow. So that's a look at your curfews. All right, I'm looking at the clock here, and we're just about out of here. I do want to, one more time, thank the folks from Rev, from Restore the Mississippi River Delta, from Presley Wealth Management, and, of course, from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport as well, as we're working through getting us back up to Washington, D.C. for Washington Mardi Gras. I, of course, want to thank the folks over at Lake Urgent Care for bringing you this on-demand video from our Facebook Live, which we're able to do. And thank you all for listening. I'll be back at it tomorrow at 6. All right. We'll see y'all in the morning, Facebook.